Hey everybody, good Tuesday morning. This is First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Brad Penovich. Well, the last day of the mild weather is here. Get ready for the big cool down heading our way tonight and tomorrow, and it's getting kind of interesting. I'll tell you why. This front, it's going to move through, but it's not going to get very far through, and that means cloud showers and maybe, just maybe, a few wet snowflakes in a few spots. We'll talk about that before we get too excited. Let's go to what's happening right now. There's our cold front. You can see it moving in from the west, kind of a cloudy, drizzly day out there. Big time showers moving in with the front. Again, no snow with this right now. Even on the backside, it's going to be kind of tough to get some snow in here. But I'll show you real quickly the temperatures. We're going to throw them on here as we pause this. You can see the temperatures on the back side of this. I'm going to turn off the satellite data. And you can see there's actually two surges of cold air. This first surge is coming in tonight with the cold front. It's roughly right here. You can see that cold front. And then here's the second surge of Arctic air, which is going to dive down Friday night into Saturday. Now, what's interesting, this front is going to end up getting to the coast and stalling, and then this next surge comes down, and this is when it gets really, really interesting. So we'll go right to the models. We'll start talking about what's going to happen here. Excuse me, fighting this horrible cold or flu, whatever I have. You could see the front approaching from the northwest tonight, and we'll try to get this to move. We're going into the afternoon hours. We'll go into tonight. I'm going to stop this about 7 p.m. Tonight. As the front crosses the mountains. A little lag here. So this is going to be 7 p.m. tonight. You see the front has moved into the mountains. And again, this is all rain. There's no snow with this. Maybe some stronger storms down here in Georgia and South Carolina. Gusty winds would definitely be an issue with this. So you can see the front crossing over until about 1 o'clock in the morning. So the time frame here looks to be like 11 p.m., maybe 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. Now, just to show you the temperatures, you can see the cold air filtering on the backside. That is really, really cold air. So the front is right in here, but the cold air is lagging maybe about 150 miles behind the actual front and rain. We'll go into the overnight hours. We'll go towards your Wednesday morning. I'm going to stop this at 7 o'clock in the morning. And the rain, for the most part, is cleared out. But what's happened here, and I don't know if you could tell, but the front is going to stall right here, and a wave of low pressure is going to form back here and ride along the front and move in. Now, the question is, how much cold air are we going to get in place before that wave gets here? The problem you run into with this setup, and this happens quite a bit in the southeast, and oh, by the way, big time lake effect coming off the lakes there with the Arctic air. This is always the catch-22 with storms in the southeast. You get a strong coastal storm, which is a ton of moisture. That's good for the moisture, but the problem is that usually brings in warmer air just off the surface. We call that a warm nose, and that can change everything to a cold rain. You need a really strong Arctic high here to keep funneling and supplying. We call it a parent high, to keep pushing that cold air in. The problem with that is that's cold dry air. So it's this battle between the warm moist air and the cold dry air. In the perfect setup, you want both. You want a strong storm system with copious amounts of moisture, and you want a monster high up here supplying the cold air. The problem with this setup, and why I'm not really keen on this being anything more than just a cosmetic snowflake or two, is that we don't really have either. We've got a pretty strong cold air mass, but it's pretty well displaced to the north. It's not far enough to the south. So as we go through tomorrow, we're going to see this wave develop down in Texas and Louisiana and the Gulf Coast and move up. And because it's so far inland with this moisture, you know the warm air loft is there, but there could be enough cold air, especially in the mountains. This should be a no-brainer for the mountains that we're going to see some snow up in the North Carolina mountains. But as this rain moves into the Piedmont, especially, I would say Friday more so than Thursday, Friday into Saturday, some of this, and every once in a while you see some blue showing up there, we could see a little bit of a wet snowflake mix in with the cold rain. But remember, the temperatures at this time are likely going to be in the 30s here, probably mid to upper 30s, and even low 40s. So this is just a miserable cold rain as we go into Thursday night. And then Friday into Saturday, another wave is going to form along the front, which is still stalled near the coast. And this is probably a little bit more interesting because this coincides with the next surge of Arctic air. And I'm going to try to pull this up, see if we can get this. That's not what I want. I'll show the velocities. So I know this looks real messy, but there's another little vorticity maximum we call up here. Basically, another surge of Arctic air is going to come down. So this first wave you saw down here, not going to do much. But the second wave that heads our way Friday night and Saturday might have some more cold air to work with. At least it's going to have some polar energy coming down. So I'm going to go out as far as I can here on the short range model, and we'll go all the way out. This is Thursday night. So now we're going to switch models to the GFS. So this is the same time frame, Thursday night. We'll go into Friday morning. And you can kind of tell, I'm going to switch back to the vorticity. There's our piece of vorticity, which is swinging around essentially what is the polar vortex way up there in Canada. And you can see as this next wave comes in, and again, we're talking Friday here, that we're probably going to see on the northern edge at least a chance for some wet snowflakes. So if you want to get excited for some snow east of the mountains, not that it's going to accumulate, but if you want to see snow, Friday night into Saturday is at least looking intriguing now, especially for the Piedmont. And the farther north you go, the more intriguing it gets. So this is going into Friday night, and then we'll go into Saturday morning, and we'll stop this at Saturday morning. So you can see there's the potential there. And then we get another clipper system coming down on Saturday, which is really, really cold air. And this is such a strong clipper system. This typically doesn't affect the Piedmont. This will be a big snow event for the mountains on Saturday night into Sunday, that we could see a few snowflakes break containment and get over the mountains. So how much snow are we talking about? Not much. This is the model. And again, this doesn't account for melting. Maybe a trace amount north and east of Charlotte towards Raleigh. The bigger event's going to be in the mountains, and I'll show you why. I'll put this all the way out here. And you can see this is actually a pretty good setup for the mountains, and this is going into next week. So don't get super excited. And just to kind of reaffirm this, I'll show you a couple things here. First of all, let me show the European model, which is very similar to this. It shows that wave Thursday, and then Friday night into Saturday. I'll show you. This is Friday night into Saturday morning. You could see maybe a little bit of a wintry mix here. Again, not a big deal, but there could be a few wet snowflakes mixing in there. Likely a lot of that is just going to be a cold, miserable rain that moves in across the Piedmont and then moves out quickly. The chances of seeing snow right now, highest in the mountains. This is going from Thursday. You could see the snow chances in the mountains there. And then we'll go into Friday. Into Friday night, you start to see maybe the potential of some snow moving east of the mountains into the Piedmont. So that potential is there. And then we look at Saturday morning. So this is Friday night, Saturday morning. There's about a 10% chance we could see a few wet snowflakes east of the mountain. So it's not a huge deal. I don't think it's going to be a big event. It won't impact the roads. It won't accumulate. But there at least is the potential, especially Friday night into Saturday, that we could see a little bit of snow falling, mixing with the rain. And again, just to show you what that looks like, this is Friday night into Saturday morning. So it's going to be one of those overnight things. If you blink, you might miss it. The one thing for sure, it is going to be brutally cold. I didn't even show you the temperatures. The cold air is going to be placed, and all that moisture ahead of this, that's a cold, miserable rain. This is one of those situations where you kind of wish it was snow, because this cold air diving in is really going to be cold, and it's going to be sticking around for a while. You see that big plume of cold air coming out of Canada, and once it gets down here, it's not leaving for a while. So if you want to get excited for a little bit of a wet snowflake or two, you sure can for Friday, but don't count on it being a big deal, and most of you will miss it. Of course, I'll have complete coverage coming up at 4, 5, and 6, and over the next couple of days, obviously, we'll be talking more about this. Have a great Tuesday, everybody.